Good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Summit of Shareholders Association of the Philippines, 2018 version. I am Rex Drulon II, one of the founding members of the SharePHIL. And today, the topic of our summit is on the journey from private enterprise to a public company. Lessons, challenges, and opportunities, which is being presented by your SharePHIL. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of the Shareholders Association of the Philippines, I would like to call this summit to order. And now, before anything else, may I ask on Mr. Jimmy Ismael, Trustee of SharePHIL and President of Ortigas and Company, to give us a primer on the Shareholders Association of the Philippines. Jimmy?
Thank you, Rex, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before we start the summit, we would like to give you a brief background on what SharePHIL is all about, especially for the benefit of those who are not yet members, because we would like to drive membership growth. So, again, thank you for joining us today, and as we get settled in, allow me to introduce SharePHIL and invite you to join our organization. I will start by showing a short video on SharePHIL, and then I'll have a few words after that. Lynn, please. Thank you. As you can see, our mission is very clear, which is to promote the development of the Philippine capital market by advocating education in order to enlighten investors and shareholders of their rights, duties, and responsibilities, and encourage shareholder engagement. This we hope to accomplish in the spirit of a true partnership between the providers and users of capital, guided by a governance infrastructure that ensures a level playing field among shareholders consistent with global best practices. Now, our various programs focus on education, advocacy, research, and shareholder relations and representation. Our annual summit today is a flagship event that we hold each year as part of our education thrust. And today we're very fortunate to have been able to invite a distinguished set of panelists and speakers to share their views on the topic that we have chosen for this year. And as you saw in the presentation earlier, it's been a progression of, interesting topics that delve on corporate governance, stewardship, family corporations transitioning to professional organizations. So those are the kinds of topics that we believe we should share to all of you, and members and non-members alike. Now, all of these programs are also guided by the core values that we hold dear. And as you saw on the screen, these are fairness, accountability, independence, transparency, and honor, or what we call FAIT. We have various categories of memberships available depending on the status or sector of the applicant. So we invite all of you who are not yet members to join us and share in the benefits of membership, and more importantly, be a catalyst to promote the Philippine capital market. Membership application forms and a brochure on SharePHIL are available at the registration desk. You can also take a look at our website, sharephil.org, and even the YouTube videos are available for your reference. So again, on behalf of the Board of Trustees of SharePHIL, we would like to invite all of you to be members of this organization. Thank you and good afternoon.
What Jimmy said about the founding of SharePHIL, it was during the presidency of former MAP presidents Albert Del Rosario and Evelyn Singson that the seeds for SharePHIL were planted together with ICD. And it took some time to create, but since 2011, we have gone very far, thanks to the leadership of our chair, Evelyn, and our president, Francis Lim. Now, to formally start, we would like to request Ms. Sarah Faye Bakal to join us on stage. She will sing the Philippine National Anthem. I'm sorry. She will sing the invocation, and then to be followed by the Philippine National Anthem. Please stand for this.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Advocacy, education, and the enlightenment of shareholders aimed at promoting the domestic capital market has been the mission of SharePHIL and its very reason for being. Every year, for the past 4 years, SharePHIL has endeavored to offer you a summit like no other. We have invited not only prominent personalities who lead the country's largest corporations, but likewise many educators who share our goals to speak about topics that are of interest to you and close to their hearts, which you seldom hear them speak publicly. If you will see that over the past 4 years, we have guested some of the country's most prominent businessmen. Our first guest was, of course, Mr. Manny Pangilinan, who of the Metro Pacific Group, who is one of our staunch supporters, followed by Ms. Tessie Coson of SM, who you seldom hear in public. Then we had the tandem of Oscar and Piqui Lopez of the Lopez Group, who talked about the evolution of their family's business. And last year, we had a big crowd to watch the Sobel de Ayala brothers. But this year's summit, entitled The Journey from Private Enterprise to a Public Company, is no different, as we bring you three of the personalities and brains behind the country's most successful IPOs. They have shepherded their respective companies through the IPO process to successfully list on the Philippine Stock Exchange with share prices well above their IPO price to this day, an affirmation of how the stock market believes in their governance of their companies. We highlight today's summit with Ms. Lorraine Bello Cinco-Chan, CEO and President of Wilcon Depot, Mr. Alvin Lau, President and CEO of DNL Industries, Inc., and Mr. Jose Shio, Chairman of SM Investments, as our principal speakers. Beforehand, I would like to thank them for making time away from their busy corporate schedules so they can share their experiences with us. Today, we have asked them to recount their stories. We want to know answers to the following questions. What drove them to go public? What changes were needed by their respective companies before going public? Who helped them along the way? What changes were needed by the company after going public? What other difficulties did they face when they first went public? How has the IPO helped them tap the domestic capital markets? What are their experiences dealing with minority shareholders? And how are minority shareholders of help to them? We hope that the answers to these questions will allow us, all gathered here, to gain some insight from their experiences. Who knows, perhaps some of you will be convinced to consider going public or be inclined to be active investors in the stock market. Definitely, you will find this afternoon a worthwhile learning experience. And if you do, we would have achieved our purpose. And before I turn over the floor to our chair, Ramon Fernandez, on behalf of all of SharePHIL, we want to thank you, Mon, and your committee for another successful summit and a job well done. Thank you very much.
To give us an overview of the summit, please welcome Summit Chair and SharePHIL Treasurer and Trustee, Mr. Mon Fernandez, who is also President and CEO of Maynilad Water Services, and of course, President of the Management Association of the Philippines.
Gandang hapon po. SharePHIL Chair, Mrs. Evelyn Singson, our President, Francis Lim, distinguished speakers, fellow SharePHIL members, student participants, friends from media, guests, ladies and gentlemen, magandang hapon. When SharePHIL was formed 2011, our founders' intent was to protect the investor through education and shareholder activism. We recognized that such engagement was necessary because an enlightened investing public is key in developing the capital markets. SharePHIL remains steadfast and consistent in promoting this advocacy. As more vigilance is needed, given the current state of the capital markets. Our main vehicle that SharePHIL utilizes in pushing this advocacy to a wider audience is the holding of this annual summit. Today's event would be our fifth, as already seen in the screen, as mentioned also by our chair. And as in previous ones, I'm happy to note that we have exceeded both our attendance targets as well as our fundraising for our educational programs. Since we began holding our annual summits in 2014, we have managed to feature illustrious lineup of speakers. These include our PLDT and MPIC Group Chairman Manuel V. Pangilinan, former Finance Secretary Cesar Purisima, successful businesswoman Tessie C. Coson, and the father and son tandem of Mr. Oscar and Federico Lopez. Last year, we had brothers Jaime Augusto and Fernando Sobel de Ayala sharing their take on creating and sustaining value through principled corporate stewardship. Today, we are honored to have our newest batch of distinguished speakers, three creative and daring entrepreneurs who will talk about how they transitioned from successfully running family businesses to managing public corporations, and answer the question what motivated them to make the shift and what changes they have instituted in their respective corporations since then. We welcome my dear friend, Mr. Joshua of SM Investments Corporation, Ms. Lorraine Bello Chincuchan of Wilcon Depot, and Mr. Alvin Lau of DNL Industries. They will be elaborating on this year's summit theme, the journey from private enterprise to a public company, lessons, challenges, opportunities. Also adding color to the discussions will be our current crop of reactor panelists, Mr. Jose Franco Soberano of Cebu Landmasters, and Mr. Delphine Wenceslao of Asiana Holdings, and of course, Mr. Ed Francisco of BDO Capital and SharePHIL. With this exciting lineup of speakers and topics, I expect an afternoon of stimulating, engaging, and inspiring discussions. Ultimately, by holding this annual summit, SharePHIL is able to spread its advocacy and raise the necessary funds to sustain our education, research, shareholder relations, and representation programs. I would therefore like to thank you all for your participation. I also wish to extend SharePHIL's deepest gratitude to our event sponsors, Diamond sponsors San Miguel Corporation, Platinum sponsors BDO Unibank, First Gen Corporation, Metro Pacific Investments Corporation, and SM Investments Corporation. Our gold sponsors, Ayala Corporation, BPI, Cebu Landmasters, LT Group Incorporated, Meralco, and Udena Corporation. Our silver sponsors, Del Monte and Price Corporation. Thanks also to our various bronze sponsors and donors. Special mention to our official media partners, Philippine Star, ANC, Philippine Daily Inquirer, Business World, BizNews Asia, One News Channel, and TV5. Allow me to also acknowledge the SharePHIL Summit Committee members, our chair, Evelyn Singson, our hardworking president, Francis Lim, very influential and very hardworking, and Madam Cora Bernaldo, Tami Lipana, Jimmy Ismael, and Boots Garcia. Lastly, I'd like to express my gratitude to our hardworking Summit Secretariat, Ada Mabayad, Lynn Angeles, Abby Benaventura, and of course, to our entire SharePHIL board for their full support. So to all our participants, maraming salamat po for supporting SharePHIL's advocacy of promoting faith to the investor. Magandang hapon po uli.
Thank you, Mon. Thank you for naming some of the major sponsors, but I'd like to also recognize and acknowledge the support of the other sponsors. If you don't mind, I have a selfish reason for doing that. Our bronze sponsors, DNL Industries, Double Dragon, Isla Lipana Company, Pricewaterhouse, Mega World, Metropolitan Bank and Trust Company. That's the reason why I had to call the other sponsors. I'm a director of Metro Bank. SGV and Company, Security Bank, Union Bank of the Philippines, and Wilcon Depot. We also have donors, CIBI Foundation, Call Financial Group, Cebu Pacific, Dusitani Philippines. That's the other reason why I wanted to enumerate these names. Insular Life, Jan Visuals Enterprises, Land Bank, Manila Water, Ortigas and Company, Philippine Airlines, Reyes Takandong and Company, Robinson's Land, and Victoria's Milling. We'd like to also give our thanks to our media partners, ANC or the ABS-CBN News Channel, BizNews Asia, Business World, Philippine Daily Inquirer, Philippine Star, One News Channel, and TV5. The growing number of sponsors, corporate sponsors to the annual summit of SharePHIL is a testimony and recognition of the impact of SharePHIL on the capital markets development of this country and also the corporate governance reforms in our country. So thank you very much, sponsors. Shall we give them a round of applause?